No one noticed when 8-year-old Riley Grant entered the dusty auto shop, clad in oversized gloves and her father's cap. She appeared too petite to wield a wrench, much less repair a Navy SEAL's malfunctioning truck. However, as Commander Blake, Riker observed her subsequent actions. A tremor started to course through his hands. He had encountered battlefields, yet nothing could compare to this. What Riley touched had an effect, and his words that followed would alter her life completely. Before we dive in, please give this video a thumbs up and let us know your location in the comments. Your support enables us to share more impactful narratives. Let us commence. The bright midday sun streamed through the garage windows, creating stark shadows on the marked concrete floor. The scent of gasoline mingled with sweat and metal in the air. Clients arrived, and yet one truck remained idle for hours, a formidable, navy blue beast adorned with military plates, its engine so lifeless that even the most experienced mechanics steered clear of it. At that moment, Riley Grant, merely 8 years old, crept into the bay clad in oversized boots and pulling along a red toolbox that trailed behind her. Her father, Hank Grant, a skilled mechanic with grease forever etched into his fingertips, stood beside her, massaging his temples. He remained oblivious as Commander Blake Riker, a robust Navy SEAL, re-entered from the waiting room. The commander's face revealed nothing, yet it was evident that his patience was rapidly diminishing. He had already been informed that the repair could extend over several days, yet here was this small girl, crouched beneath the hood, her concentration, unwavering, brow-knitted, lips firmly pressed together. Riley had been immersed in the world of engines since childhood. While other children engaged with dolls and video games, she absorbed the names of tools and attuned herself to the rhythm. Of machines, Hank never formally instructed her. She quietly observed, immersed herself, and explored. Yet she had never been allowed to handle anything this sophisticated before. No one thought she was prepared, and yet here she stood, delicately following the wires with her gloved fingers, her thoughts racing ahead of the diagnostics computer which blinked ineffectively beside her. Blake Riker folded his arms and gazed at Hank, a mix of confusion and mild amusement playing on his face. "She knows exactly what she's doing," Hank muttered, his voice barely above a whisper, tinged with a hint of offense. Riley's voice abruptly pierced the stillness. The ECM module is not securely fastened, and the harness is experiencing misfires. A false ignition failure is being triggered. With a swift motion, she delved into her toolbox, retrieved a torque wrench, and expertly adjusted the bolts. The engine flickered to life with a spark, once, then again. Then it sprang to life with a resonant, commanding growl. The garage succumbed to the chill of winter. The other mechanics paused, their tools suspended in the air. A patron accidentally spilled his coffee. Blake Riker advanced deliberately, his jaw set tight. He had witnessed the launch of missiles, the deployment of aircraft, and the diving of submarines. Yet he had never witnessed an 8-year-old girl bring a military engine back to life, as if it were merely a plaything. "Who taught you that?" he inquired, taken aback. Riley wiped her forehead with the back of her glove and responded, "No one. I simply listen. Engines communicate their stories to those who are attuned to their language." For a brief moment, Commander Riker remained silent. Then a shift occurred in his gaze. The derisive grin had vanished. He approached Hank and remarked, "You might consider getting her a passport." Hank's eyelids fluttered momentarily. "What is the purpose?" "Because I am taking her to a place where laughter will never echo again." And just like that, Riley's life subtly started to change. As dawn broke, the sun just beginning to peek over the horizon, a sleek black SUV with darkened windows glided to a stop in front of the Grant's unassuming residence on the outskirts of town. Riley lingered in her pajamas, munching on cereal at the kitchen table, when her father swung open the door to find two men in uniform standing resolutely on the porch. Emerging from the shadows, Commander Blake Riker made his entrance, an unspoken authority radiating from him. He gave a brief nod to Hank before his gaze drifted beyond him, fixing on the little girl within, blissfully unaware that her life was on the brink of transformation. "Could we enter, please?" Blake inquired with a courteous demeanor, yet his tone unmistakably conveyed that it was more than a mere question. Hank moved to the side, a mix of confusion washing over him, yet fear eluded his grasp. Riley inclined her head, a spoon poised midway to her lips. She gazed up at her father, who offered a quiet nod, embodying a blend of pride and uncertainty. Within the confines, Blake immediately sprang into action. He set a folder on the table and pushed it forward. Riley gazed intently at the emblem, its golden embossing catching the light. The Division of Maritime Advancement and Design. Hank eased it open, his hands quivering ever so slightly. Inside was a printed offer, not a job, not an internship, but a placement, an invitation for Riley Grant, age 8, to attend a specialized engineering mentorship program overseen by classified military personnel and civilian experts. Completely covered, no costs, travel arrangements, accommodation, plus a stipend. "She's merely a child," Hank murmured, not in opposition, but from sheer astonishment. Blake gave a slight nod. "Just like Mozart, Edison, and Newton. The distinction lies in the fact that they weren't repairing combat-grade ignition systems prior to turning 9. What she accomplished yesterday, no experienced engineer we reached out to could duplicate. She perceives what eludes others." Riley cast her gaze downward, caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, torn between pride and fear. Her intentions were purely to assist. Her only desire was to emulate her father. "But why her?" Hank whispered. "Why not consider training someone with more experience?" Blake inhaled deeply and leaned in closer. "The world is evolving, and those who will bring about change may not be the ones we anticipate. She doesn't require years of unlearning. She embodies instinct, a true force of brilliance. Such a mindset is truly exceptional. We will craft it with precision." The room was enveloped in silence. The sole noise was the softening of Riley's cereal in her bowl. "I refuse to allow her to become a mere machine," Hank declared, his posture resolute. "If this causes her any pain, it will be over." Blake acknowledged with a sense of admiration. "Then accompany her. The program permits a single guardian. Access will be granted in its entirety." Riley glanced back and forth between the two. Her delicate voice pierced the atmosphere of unease. "Am I still able to utilize my own tools?" Blake beamed for the first time. "Your entire box can come along." As the evening unfolded, with the town engrossed in baseball and families gathered around dinner tables, a plane sat patiently on a secluded airstrip. Riley perched by the window, a toolbox resting on her lap, while Hank sat beside her, enveloped in a stunned silence. She remained composed. She remained perfectly still. She gazed into the distance, her eyes fixed on the clouds beyond, as if she were witnessing a realm that existed only in her mind's eye. The engines thundered with a ferocity unmatched by those she had once repaired, and in an instant Riley Grant departed from the world she had always known. Not merely as the daughter of a mechanic, but as something infinitely more perilous. The space was entirely different from what Riley had envisioned. It was neither dull nor frigid, nor was it crowded with clamorous warriors. Rather, it resembled a quaint advanced settlement nestled within a mountain valley. The structures exuded a modern elegance, characterized by their sleek lines and smooth surfaces, crafted from dark glass and titanium. The stillness enveloped the scene as if every eye and ear was attuned to the moment. Hank strolled alongside her, his gaze sharp and focused, meticulously examining each shadow and every expression. He had spent his childhood mending what was damaged. This location exuded an air of unyielding permanence, and that unsettled him. A statuesque figure clad in a navy blue coat welcomed them with a warm smile. Her name was Dr. Evelyn Shaw, and she did not belong to the military. She held the position of civilian director for the Applied Genius Unit, a secretive think tank functioning under the Department of Defense. Riley may not have grasped everything, but she certainly perceived the way Dr. Shaw regarded her. Not in the manner of a child, nor as a mere science experiment, but as something far more extraordinary. A colleague, Riley received her own dedicated lab space. It surpassed the size of their whole home. All functions responded to voice commands. Walls illuminated as she drew near, revealing intricate diagrams of engines unfamiliar to her, showcasing systems that were still years from being unveiled to the public. As she delved into each piece of equipment, an unusual occurrence unfolded. She remained composed. She found herself within the familiar confines of her home. In the weeks that followed, Riley did not receive the recognition of a prodigy. She was regarded as an equal. Each morning commenced with a security clearance, followed by a brief debriefing and an hour-long session where leading engineers detailed the systems they were creating. After that, they would pass it to Riley and remain in anticipation. Initially, her adjustments were minor, delicate enhancements in circuitry or energy flow. However, in just 10 days, she completely overhauled a cooling interface, achieving a remarkable 40% reduction in processing heat. In just a fortnight, she developed a groundbreaking hybrid ignition pulse that remained unmatched, even when others were guided through the process. Hank observed the unfolding scene, his sense of wonder intensifying alongside a creeping dread. The brighter she glowed, the deeper his apprehension grew about the potential price to pay. He remained nearby, yet at times he sensed a greater distance from her than he had ever experienced. She had stepped into a realm beyond his reach. Not quite. Then arrived the encounter that transformed everything. One evening, Riley found themselves summoned to a secure meeting room. Inside, 3 uniformed men and 1 civilian awaited. A man presented himself as a spokesperson for a private defense contractor. His smile was almost constant. He spoke rapidly. He vowed commitments. He presented Riley with a card containing his contact details, despite the fact that she had no phone. As she remained quiet, he shifted his attention to Hank. The man remarked that she might embody the essence of a new generation. Public demonstrations, interviews, and speaking engagements. Envision the communication, your daughter, the cornerstone of our nation's safety. Consider it carefully. I am considering, Hank said, his expression unchanged, and the answer is no. The man persisted in his efforts. Her story holds an incredible power that you may not fully grasp. Just as Hank was about to reply, Riley finally found her voice. I didn't come here to be a narrative, she murmured softly. I arrived to mend what is damaged. That evening, Dr. Shaw encountered them in a private setting and expressed regret. She vowed that such a thing would never occur again. She will never become a brand. She constructs, rather than merely advertises. And in that moment, Riley reclaimed her place at the table, surrounded by minds that had traversed far more years than her own. Not merely a representation, but rather a resolution. The emergency sirens sliced through the quiet like a knife. Riley let her wrench slip from her grasp, her heart racing as crimson lights flickered ominously around the lab. Hank stormed into the room moments later, his eyes ablaze with intensity. A voice resonated through the intercom. It was indeed Dr. Shaw. Her tone was serene, yet an undercurrent of something more lingered beneath. Immediate attention required. Fear. All staff are to assemble at the command wing. Initiate Level 5 override. Top priority. That phrase was completely unfamiliar to them, not a single time. Security personnel guided them quickly through the dimly lit hallways into an expansive, curved chamber illuminated by a multitude of glowing screens. A satellite feed occupied the main display. A naval transport vessel had experienced a loss of power in the midst of a critical operation, transporting essential encrypted materials across treacherous seas. It floated, exposed and defenseless. The Advanced Propulsion Core, constructed just months prior, had malfunctioned. Riley had crafted the design, yet something had gone awry. "She's merely a child," one officer exclaimed. Without a moment's pause, Dr. Shaw asserted that she is the sole individual who comprehends the fundamental structure at a molecular level. "Do you wish to preserve the ship? Allow her to focus on her craft." Riley remained motionless, her hands trembling. The whispers danced in the air around her. Terms related to the armed forces, significant risks involved, forecasts of potential outcomes if the vessel were to be stopped. Yet all Riley could perceive was a visual representation displayed on the monitor. She noticed the subtle shift in the algorithm, the cooling sink that had deviated by a mere 0.02 degrees. She murmured, "It is a waterfall." No one listened to her. The sounds continued to collide. She raised her voice. "A series of failures has occurred in succession. The artificial intelligence control is preventing access. It seeks to defend itself, unaware that it is ultimately destroying the vessel." A hush enveloped the scene. Dr. Shaw shifted her gaze towards her. "Could you create a patch? It's already formed in my mind," Riley stated. In mere moments, she found herself positioned at the override station. Her fingers danced over the keyboard, streams of code flowing effortlessly. Hank positioned himself. Behind her, a hand resting on her shoulder, providing support while his own breath hitched with each passing moment. The engineers observed with astonishment as the ship's internal systems flickered, faltered, and finally sprang to life. Far across the expanse, the ship reignited its systems. Applause filled the air, yet Riley remained expressionless. She reclined, panting, her gaze weighed down by emotions that transcended mere pride. It was an obligation. Dr. Shaw lowered himself beside her. "You have just made a remarkable impact, Riley, saving 26 lives. Are you following what I'm saying?" Riley gave a slow, deliberate nod. "They'll return, won't they? Additional challenges, additional issues to address." "Indeed," Dr. Shaw remarked gently, "but now the world is aware of whom to reach out to." After a week had passed, Riley and Hank made their way back home. Cameras were poised at the airport, yet Riley maintained her focus, her toolbox held firmly in her grasp. She had no desire for recognition. She preferred the absence of lights. Her desire was simply to create, to mend, to find solutions. In the garage, the familiar old tools remained exactly where they had always been. The identical concrete floor, the familiar scent of oil and rust. Hank offered her a spark plug, a grin spreading across his face. Prepared to return to the fundamentals? Riley grasped it firmly with both hands, surveying the surroundings with keen interest. "Let us repair something that goes unnoticed," she said. Yet, around the globe, they observed, silently and with reverence. The girl who once listened to engines transformed into the one who rescued them, and in that act she redefined the essence of genius, its appearance, its sound, and the age it can embody. With the conclusion of Part 4, the tale of Riley Grant is set to unfold. From the remnants of a humble garage to the core of international defense, she demonstrated that true greatness does not seek approval, and that when intellect is combined with passion, it has the power to transform everything. This transcended mere storytelling. It ignited a flame, one that will consume every barrier ever imposed on possibility. And now the world will always remember the name Riley Grant.